Haven't seen you in eons.
I know we've been separated by medical problems, but it's great to see you.
Great to see you too. I hope you and your work and your family are thriving.
Let's see, we're hanging in there.
Okay.
It's hanging in there. That's doing pretty well these days.
Oh, I'm glad.
Wonderful to see you, Ruth.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see you
A
as well.
surprise for you. I'm gonna need.
Carol, are you there or hiding behind your virtual background?
I am here.
Okay,
Okay, I will monitor the chat.
thank you.
I will monitor the chat, and also if, as we discussed, if people want to chime in for important stuff while Jim is speaking, I think he had agreed to that too, but I will definitely monitor the chat, and if it's pertinent to the subject of the moment, I will interrupt and ask that question. Okay.
We say that in your chat, if you have any questions for Jim, well, during his presentation, put
Right.
it in.
And also, when you put something in chat, please also add your name so we know who you are and can find you. Okay, I would like to introduce our speaker today, Jim Morphesis, who many of us know and have known for a long time. Jim got his BFA from the Tyler School of Art of Temple University in 1970 and earned his MFA from California Institute of the Arts in 1972. That was an exciting time to be doing art in the West, on the West Coast. In art school and immediately after, he made minimalist work, occasionally employing a crucifix form. Art critic Peter Clothier described the nature of his early paintings. His early work was characterized by its brooding, dramatic strength, its juxtaposition of structural formality with expressive intensity, its crusty, abstract surfaces, which always seem to reveal less than they concealed. In 2012, Michael Duncan, an independent art curator and critic, wrote, Morphesis' breakthrough actually came at the end of the 1970s with his use of more overt religious and figurative imagery. Later, bodies of the 1980s work became more sculptural, with crucifix forms used as central structures of layered reliefs. Art historian and curator Peter Sells, PhD, stated, since the 1980s, Jim Morphesis has been one of the most influential members of the Expressionist art movement in Los Angeles. As strong examples of Los Angeles neo-expressionism, Morphesis' work of the 1980s rank along those alongside those of Carlos Almaraz, David Amico, Gronk, Roger Herman, Margaret Nielsen, and Joyce Treman. Like those artists, Morphesis has used painting as a vehicle for dramatic personal statements. He's had over 42 solo exhibitions and is in numerous museum collections, including LACMA, San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, Oakland Museum of California Art, the Met, Orange County Museum of Art, and so on and on and on. I can't tell them all. And with all that, he's a really nice guy. So, Jim Morphesis, let me get you started here by spotlighting you and by sharing my screen. Okay, can everybody see Jim Morphesis in person and in big letters?
Yes.
And you can't answer me because you're all muted. Actually, my Zoom just quit. Can you see, Carol? Can you see?
Just a second, I was just looking at a chat from Penny saying that she was a compadre. They were at fellow Tyler College of Art together.
Oh, great.
Right, okay. So,
Um,
yeah, I
Jim,
can
you-
see everything.
Okay. So Jim, you're on.
Who was that guy that you were talking about? I owe those art critics something. And by the way, all the images that you're going to see, you'll be seeing them because of Barbara Tabachnik. I tortured her for days. It wasn't easy getting Barbara to load all of my images, but I really appreciate that. And Barbara, I know we talked about this. How are we going to do this? Because if someone wants to ask a question while I'm talking, I welcome it. It'll help everything and probably fill in some things that I forgot to say. So are they going to do that in chat or can they just unmute themselves?
It's kind of best if you do it in chat, but if you really can't hold it in because you need to know the answer immediately, unmute yourselves and go for it.
Yeah, it may be something that's helpful for everybody. You know, I thought about this, collage artists. So I was fascinated, always fascinated by the fact that beginning in 1912, the use of collage in drawing and painting changed the art world very quickly and forever. And I'm talking about George Braque and Pablo Picasso when they first used collage images in their works. Soon after that, Marcel Duchamp was submitting a urinal to an art exhibition, all because of those first collage elements that Braque and Picasso used. But then I remember you're all collage artists and you know all of this. So I'm going to go back to the old thing and talk about, you know, my work. And what I wanted to do is discuss 3 periods, well, 2 series of paintings and 1 area of my work that deals with the figure, where collage was an important part of the imagery, an important part of the work. Also, these 3 areas were encouraged by 3 particular paintings, 2 from the Renaissance, 1 from the Baroque period. So I'm going to show them and talk about that a bit. And Barbara will keep time and tell me to hurry up if I go too long. Let me tell you and show you, Barbara, if you put on the first image. So
Can
the
you see it?
areas, yeah, that's, if everybody can see this, it looks good to me. This is going way back. I'm looking at it, I'm kind of remember doing it. This is a very large painting, but with what Peter Clothier was talking about, it's when I started to use the figure in my work, and a lot of, it's hard to call it collage. I call it collage, but as you can see, timbers, wood, rags, lots of stuff, screwed, hammered, and bolted into plywood panels. So it got pretty meaty, it got heavy, and I think that these paintings really turned in an excavation for me. I'll talk about that some more. The next, if you go to the next slide, area that I wanted to talk about that uses a great deal of collage, even though from the image you may not be able to see a lot of it. This whole surface is built up with collage, and then I draw and paint back on top of it. This is a series, the Morphesis series, kind of inspired by a Greek mythological character that I'll talk about a little more when we look at these. And if it looks like a side of beef, it is. And yes, I think, okay, 1 more image, and this will be the final group, which really doesn't look like there's any collage in here. But even with this, and this is a much more recent series of paintings, these Rose series were really built up with collage that kind of forced me to come on heavy with the paint, because I wanted these roses really to feel like flesh rather than fragile petals. So they're the 3 areas we're going to talk about. And the next slide, or the next image, is something that was mentioned by one of the reviewers that Barbara was talking about. You know, for a long time, and this is in the 1970s, when I knew the work of Ruth Weisberg very well, And for me, one of the best known collage artists in Los Angeles, Lamont Westmoreland. So we do go way back. So this is a late 70s piece. And I was raised Greek Orthodox, so I was really influenced by Byzantine icons, which filled the church of my youth, this opulent Byzantine-looking interior of this church in Philadelphia. There was no English, everything was Greek, which I didn't understand, so I spent all of my time looking at the icons. And I did a whole series where the panels were shaped like the central panels of certain well-known altarpieces. The material is acrylic and rutile and glass beads and metallic pigments. The only collage is this thin little sliver at the bottom of the painting with gold leaf and old Greek papers that my grandmother collected, and I started to use them in the collage. I actually was drawing images from icons that I remembered on these panels. Didn't have the courage to reveal them at this time, the late 70s. So they all got covered over in this very kind of formal imagery. Then around the same time that I finished this piece, I went on the first trip to Europe, and I wanted to see a particular painting. And Barbara, I think that's the next painting, which, so this is the Matthias Grunwald's Isenheim altarpiece, which I assume many of you know about, and maybe you've even seen it. So it's in Colmar, France. The trip to see works in Italy, works in France really kind of influenced me and encouraged me to kind of pull all that thick paint matter that I was using back and reveal the figure. It's a really expressive painting, one of the most powerful paintings you'll see, and it's huge. I'm not sure, it's about 12 feet across. It's got many panels. These doors open and it goes back to another layer and another layer. But anyway, it's a very powerful image. It's very influenced by it. And there's an abstraction here too, because all the figures, the size of all the figures are determined by their biblical importance. So if we go to the next image, what started to happen in my work, I was a little more blatant with the imagery, definite cross here. And I started to pull back that thick acrylic and metallic pigment paint matter to reveal what was underneath, which is wood and gold leaf and paper collage. And then in the next image, finally see, then so kind of like got pulled back like a curtain, revealing these figures. So this the shape of this panel began as the proportions of the central panel of the Isenheim altarpiece. And you can see there's crucifix images and a whole lots of other stuff. This was the very early 80s, and the figure was kind of coming back into art after minimal period through most of the 70s. And it still was tough for me to actually work with the figure. So I was using figurative images that came from particular paintings. Actually, the crucifixions in this painting came from Diego de Velázquez's crucifixion. And I was reading a lot, words in different languages got appear. I couldn't put enough stuff in these paintings. And rather than call myself a collage artist, and rather than calling this collage material, I usually call it stuff. Okay, let's go to the next. And I also worked on paper. I think you can see that we're still using wood and it's tape. And I wanted to personalize it a little bit more. And the images that you see here came from the Grunewald painting. And to personalize it more, underneath that self-portrait, that guy is actually me towards the bottom of the painting. It was painted over letters, all personal letters that I kept. I started to bury them all in paintings. And then I painted over them. Kind of wanted to bury my past for a number of reasons. But I did that in a lot of pieces. And I think it ended when somebody said, hey, if I sent you a letter, would you use it in your painting? And I said, no, that's the end of that, because they really had to be really personal letters that had real significance to me. So there they are, buried under paint and gold leaf in this piece. Let's go to the next image. It's a double crucifix painting on wood panel, and some of these got very large, 8 or 9 feet across, and very, very heavy. There's a double image here because, well, some people said it was the idea of East and West, but really the double image really came from me being a bit neurotic about using the figure and using this kind of religious figure. Because for me, the crucifix, that crucifix over the altarpiece that when I was a little kid, that I looked at for hours while everybody was in the service and everything, as I mentioned, was Greek, I was transfixed by this figure of someone nailed to a piece of wood. It was, in many ways, a figure, human form, in the most vulnerable and at the same time the most certain position that you could have. And fascinated me for a long time, that image, a very formal image, but one that could be very expressive, as I saw in the Isenheim altarpiece. But I didn't know whether it was a good idea or not to start using these figures. So that question in my head is really what created the double image, that kind of dialogue fighting back and forth. One image, a little more rendered than the other image. Is this a figure that has new life right now? Looking back at Renaissance paintings, is that something we should be doing now after being a minimal artist? But going back and looking at those historical images, a lot of artists did that, and this ripping them off from history was given out like a nice name. It was appropriation. But I think that really, rather than not having images to work with and taking from the past, I think that for painters, it was a reconnection with the past, using the figure, which was not a popular thing in painting for so long. So reconnecting with the past, kind of like reconnecting with those artists, your relatives, back in history, was very important for what was happening in the early 80s and the resurgence of expressionistic figurative work. So let's see what's next. Yeah, of course, when you show these images, everything is actually the same size, but yeah, that's a very large piece and it really got built up. Paint rags that I used at the time, when they got so stiff I couldn't use them, I nailed them into the painting. Kind of nailing into wood was kind of important. Yeah, and this was, I guess, is about 8 feet across. This was the heaviest one. I did all of these in a really tiny 300 square foot studio, all of these particular images from the early to mid 80s. And it got carted away to an exhibition and they had to weigh it, and it was 500 pounds. I would build these things up and I didn't even know if I could get them out the door of this little studio. But let's go to the next image and see what, oh yeah, this called Destiny, inspired by a detail of a Bellini painting. It's another large painting. The other thing, all the wood that I used had to be wood that I found and had to be wood that served the purpose before. It couldn't be a new piece of wood. It was also at a time when a lot of old buildings were being knocked down for new buildings, and especially homes too, in Los Angeles. And you didn't have to fence anything off. So at night, when they were doing some construction and the old house was being torn down, I pulled up my truck and loaded up with all kinds of great stuff. So all of these pieces, floorboards and parts of furniture, something about them having a history to it, having another life, being supporters of another purpose, interested me, just like the figures that I was using. So the next one, Yeah, this was a time when I started to photograph models. So in this painting, Blue Altarpiece, another very large one, you see two figures kind of pulling away, crucifix figures, or at least reminiscent of a crucifix, pulling away from one another. And I should say that along with all of this stuff, all of these materials, this piece, to give you an idea, it's a painting, but it comes away from the wall about 10 or 11 inches. So there's layers and layers. It was oil paint, which took too long to dry. So I mixed it with a material called Magna. And it was an alkyd resin, one of the first alkyd resins, alkyd resin being a resin that's miscible in mineral spirits. In other words, it's an acrylic material, but you can mix it with oil paint, and it helped the oil paint dry faster. So alkyd paints came out of this. And only one place in New York, a Beaucourt paint company, made it. And originally they used to have a skull and crossbones on the container. So I loved that. It was actually dangerous paint material. It made the studio very dangerous, and it had a really interesting aroma. Okay, so let's go to the next one. And I was also working on paper too. And I just thought I'd throw this in. This is heavily collaged with paper. Because it's on paper, it's obviously not built up like the ones on wood panel. So this double crucifix, Velasquez crucifix, gets very abstracted. And the collage material is put on. Paper was great. I love working with paper because, as many of you know, you can rip it off and then paint back over it. So my slabs of wood, and in this case, slabs of paper, for me, were kind of like big brush strokes. They serve the same purpose. They all seem to be not so much collage to me as part of the painting process. And they got framed like this. So these are about 80 inches high, just to give you an idea. Okay, what's next? So these works are on two different panels, same kind of stuff that you saw going on, posed figures. Can you make out the figures? I think it's small enough you probably can. At this time, I had someone who bought a painting of mine, and at an exhibition came up to me and said, somebody said there's figures in your paintings. And there was a painting very much like this. But with all the stuff that's going on, I know that when you got up close to them, the painterliness is what showed up, and not so much the figure. You had to get back to see them. All right, next, I think what I'm going to show you, So the collage material, or the material that I added, I built it up first. Now on this big panel, there are two smaller panels on heavy poster board. And I'm building up wood and cardboard, acrylic paint for the underpainting. I just wanted to show that I always had one side, most of the panels like dipping in towards the center, the same thing happening on the other side to create a certain kind of tension and this clash in the center of the pieces. So I build things up like that. And here's that little studio that I talked about. Actually, it was in an apartment building. I don't know how the people put up with my banging and the smell of the paint. There were some complaints. Actually, next door to me was a dentist. Strange aromas and moans came from his office. It's a very interesting place. But to take the fumes out and bring some cool air, you see a fan there and a photograph of a model that I posed. And I think that you'll see in the next image. So there it is, the figures that get painted on top of all of that material, which gets ripped apart and put back together. Gee, what a mess that studio was. Well, right after this, things started to go very well, and I could afford something a little larger than this studio. So I think maybe we see that in the next image. Yeah, it's more spacious. Downtown. I know that Lamont and Ruth know that in the 80s, downtown things started to happen. This is one area of one floor in an old Desmond's department store. It was 2,400 square feet, cordon off on a floor that was 9,000 square feet, which was unoccupied. It was great. One of my favorite studios, right on Broadway and 6th. It gave me room to work very large and put work up so that I can see it. So if we look at the next, yeah, that guy back there, that's me. Okay, there's the next image. That's another corner of that studio. And I'm going to get into the next series of imagery, still figurative. See that those two figures, that painting with double figures to the left, they're missing their heads, and you see the heads show up on the right. You know, I'm trying to make jokes here, but I don't hear anybody laughing because everybody's muted. So I'll just assume that.
That's very disconcerting, I know. I'll stay on and
I'm
I'll.
laughing. I'm laughing.
Okay.
Okay, well, we had Patricia Goldberg saying, haha, she's laughing, and she also loved one of your images
That's
with
what,
the two.
that's what I wanted to hear. You're still.
Yeah, with the two side by side, the first ones that you showed on paper side by side, she loved that as well. So maybe we should let people chime in a little bit if they want.
I mean, yes, yeah, that's fine with me. I would enjoy it more.
Okay.
All right, so here's a setup for what's next. And Barbara, if you want to.
And Penny loves it all. And Suzanne Belcher says definitely joyful.
Joyful. Well, that's good. That's good. Because at the time, joyful is not what I was going for. Joyful for me, it was the act of painting, and everything was like a resurrection to me, lifting images out of the past, images that were really important at one time. But of course, done in a very expressionist way. And the skull image, yeah, the torsos were important because the torso is like the container for the skull, but for the container for the soul. Didn't need the arms and legs, but the skull was very important. Since I just thought that skull, traditionally in art, it's been used and used. We all have one, and it's really a beautiful image. Scary.
Okay, Penny Fine is saying it shows that maybe the images aren't joyful, but the love of painting is evident.
That's well, good. That's good. I'm glad that shows, and that's really how it was at this time. I returned to being very cynical later, but for right now, that's how it was. So, and again, there's a lot of paint here, but it's all on top of material that I put on and then tore back off. So I have a few more of these skull images. So let's see what's next. This one is in the collection of the Museum of Contemporary Religious Art in St. Louis. Probably didn't know something like that existed. All right, next one. And these are all large paintings. This one's a skull and red ball. It's a very large one. This is one of those things, you know, I was talking about objects that had history to them. So this studio that I talked about downtown, the entrance to the building was in an alley behind the building, because the front of the building, it was a jewelry store, and that brought in all the money for the owners of the building. So I couldn't walk through that. So the entrance was from the back, and that red door that says shower on it was outside, leaning against the wall for months and months, rotting away. And I just grabbed it and said, someday I'm going to use this in a painting. I was working on this skull painting. At this time, not only was I building up, I was using sanders to then sand it down. So it really was kind of an excavation, load it up and then dig down through it. And it just, something was missing. And I slammed that door next to it. And it just kind of, for me, made this painting more ominous, but it's what I needed. So I'm glad I saved that incredibly gnarly and frightening door. Okay. What's next? Oh yeah, okay, so that's a self-portrait with a skull, much smaller work, and I think you can see the paper collage. By the way, I'm still using some of that dark stuff is that acrylic with glass sandblasting beads to thicken it and metallic pigments to color it. You saw that in that cruciform painting that was totally abstract that I showed earlier. So this is oil paint, charcoal, lots of gold leaf, and different kinds of drawing papers. Okay. Also, at the time, I still was doing the figure, and then the crucifix kind of morphed into more mythological inspired images. This kind of abstract figure is a falling figure and representing, Icarus. So I became very interested in all of those stories. I kind of saw most of those figures as kind of representing man's kind of moral enthusiasm, at the same time physical frailness. So like Icarus falling, I mean, he didn't listen to his father, which is why he's falling. He and his father were on the lam, heading for what's now, I guess, Sicily. And then the wings were made of feathers and wax. And he was told not to, very young guy, Icarus was told not to fly too close to the sun. Of course, he was a kid, he was flying. Of course, you're going to see how high you can go. Well, the heat of the sun melts the wax and the feathers come apart and he falls into the sea. But he tried to get as far and as high as he could, which is what we all strive to do, to push our limits. And then, even though the fall killed him, he lives forever, like most mythological figures, because today that area where supposedly Icarus fell is still called the Icarian Sea. So I did a lot of images dealing with, they were figures. I mean, who would know that this is an Icarus figure? It was important to me that was the story that encouraged the figure. And so let's see the next image.
And Suzanne loved the previous one that you just showed.
The falling
So
Icarus.
do I. Sylvia loves it too.
Sylvia too. Okay. Let's hear those voices.
See, now I made you do this. Okay. Nevertheless, I appreciate it. Okay, so we're probably going to run out of time. So let me go a little more quickly here. This is just kind of interesting story because this is a shot of a figure that I designed at, this would be interesting, Loyola Law School downtown. I think it was, the building had just opened. And it's Frank Geary's, I understand, first commercial building. And Frank Geary wanted on the very top, where you see the glass and you kind of see that colorful figure, he wanted a mural painted on the wall, and he wanted it to be seen from blocks away. The only problem was that gray slab is the elevator. Frank Geary's design, but that top floor was where the professors' offices were, and they insisted that the elevator go all the way up to the top. So he had to redesign it and erect the mural. But in the next image, you look at a closer shot. And this is part of the whole collage thing too. So here's this Icarus figure falling
Wow.
in the sun. So I did this painting, and the school and the board accepted it. And I was going to put planks and just build all of this up on the wall. And then I realized that the wall couldn't hold it. So then I was trying to figure out how to do this. And I knew that for a painting this size, I'd have to do it on the spot and would take a long time. And I had a show in New York coming up. It was my first show in New York. So a friend of mine, Kent Twitchell, you all know Ken Twitchell, the one of the best known muralists in Los Angeles, said that he was always interested in trying to interpret the surfaces, the dimensionality in my paintings in one of his paint by numbers paintings, because the way Kent works, he breaks his images down to little areas where they get numbered and someone can come up and fill them in. And when you step back and look, and there's a very tight looking painting. So Ken worked with assistants very well that way. So I called him up and I said, you know, did you mean that about wanting to interpret one of my paintings? And he said, yes. So I said, okay, it's my design and you do the painting, which he did. Within
Okay, Sylvia said, I love the Icarus painting.
Yeah.
well,
And Jim, you have to say that Kent Twitchell also painted you on the side of the freeway, of which I have. Yeah.
well, yeah, I was, let's say,
Was that before this or after?
it was around the same time. This had to be completed for the 84 Olympics. The image of my face that Ken painted originally on the 110 freeway, painted right across from an image of Lita Albuquerque, were part of the freeway murals that were done for the 84 Olympics.
I bought studies of both you and Lita that he had done.
That's lasted now, because poor Kent, there were paintings that kept getting covered with graffiti, and I'm told my left eye, and by the way, my face, it's a painting that's 30 feet long, so it's very large. If you drive by, through all the graffiti, my left eye still shows. I mean, it's terrible, but hey, and his new and those paintings were moved to the what was it, the 101 freeway near downtown, and they were also coated with something that protects them. All you have to do is use a power hose, and the graffiti goes away. But the city doesn't do it. All covered up, but that's the bad news in all of this. The interesting thing is that you see the dimensions of the planks that I had in my painting, smaller painting. So he built that up with acrylic. So his interpretation of my collage elements were all done with kind of acrylic casts. Okay, let's see, what is next? Back to the figure, and there are probably 100 figures that lead up to this. Those crucifix paintings, kind of, you do them for a while, and what happened is that I got interested in the shapes, which became more and more round. And in this painting, about 80 by 50 inches, it's the male figure is morphing into a female figure and a strange abstracted figure, which led to a number of very, very more colorful abstracted figures, which you should see in the next image. Oops. Okay, there's this one, and at this time I moved to New York, so I'm working in New York, and it was harder to find those wonderful chunks of wood and furniture that it was so easy for me to pick up in Los Angeles in the 80s. These two green doors actually I had to buy at an antique store. They say they go back to George Washington time. I just like them, and I did this painting figure with green door. So that's kind of a collage element, but lots of paper collaged on. I used chainsaws that cut into this surface. You really can't see that, but a lot of those dark lines were cut with the chainsaw and then filled in with paint and charcoal. But if you look to the lower part, that time my favorite collage element was old kind of Victorian looking wallpaper. So there's roses kind of appearing on the figures. Yes, on the figures lower right leg, but they were in most areas of the painting. And I think the next shot is a studio shot of the studio in there. Oh, no, not yet. But again, this figure, part of a whole series that got named after Greek women goddesses, good ones and bad ones. So this painting, I think, is called Luna, and things got much more colorful too. But they all, I should say, they all started with, I drew and painted a crucifix and then slowly abstract them. I couldn't do it any other way. So in the next, yeah, and you see the wallpaper. In the next shot, you see like a whole number of them, including a paper too. So it's still collage, but I'm digging into the panel more than applying material to the panel.
And Suzanne said, love Luna.
Oh, you know, they were a problem too. I mean, they started to go their own way, and I felt very out of control with them. They started to get so abstracted and come apart. They were really dissolving into more minimal paint. And I didn't, last time I worked very minimally, I got stuck. You kind of get there, and what am I going to do? Paint all one color? And that's what happened. They all kind of turned into white paintings. So I had to pull myself back. Part of it was business, and part of it was just psychological. I didn't know what to do with these. Had lots of fun with them, but they got a little too abstract. So in the next image,
Okay, on that image, Penny was saying such interesting, unusual color combinations.
it's yeah, colors that I never thought that I would be using.
They're great.
And I had one color on top of another color. And I was using acrylic and even temper paint in those. But back to the figure, so more naturalistic yeah, figure, both male and female here. Writing that I was doing became more so and more complex, writing whole stories. That central panel is a gold leaf panel. So I painted and wrote on the gold leaf panel. But this was, you know, back to something a little closer to what we saw before. You know,
Okay, and we have a comment here, a chat. I'm not sure, amic writing or real story?
oh, you know what? Good question. There's a time when just whatever I read, whatever's my head came out, but
That's amic, thank you. Okay, corrected the spelling. Okay.
it's a section from the Odyssey. Can't tell you where. I mean, the darn story is so long, you can just go through and grab areas. So I was lines that I thought were interesting, you know, from Homer's Odyssey. I used a lot of those, and that's what you see here.
I really like this wonderful painting.
Oh, thank you. You know, thanks for saying that, because I'm looking at what I do and even today what I like, and it seems so kind of out of step with a lot of the art that's happening. Things move fast, things have just changed so dramatically. I find myself wanting to just go back and just paint right now.
Yeah.
And try not to see exhibitions of younger artists. I do, but you know, it's just too much to keep up on.
This is wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you. So what's next? Okay.
Another one.
Got this character here. So it's another, in many different poses, the whole story of Prometheus, talk about someone doing a good deed for mankind and being punished horribly. You know, Prometheus, another version of the Christ story. You know, you got to do a very good deed that benefits others. Then you got to be punished horribly. And of course, Prometheus stole fire from Zeus. Well, fire really represented knowledge. So he stole knowledge from Zeus. Humans weren't supposed to have that. So his punishment was to be chained to a rock, and a great bird, some people interpret it as a eagle, came out and ripped out his liver. That's the horrible part. But every night it grew back. So this was to happen to him through all eternity until he apologized, which he never did. And of course, you always get saved because you're known forever. So this is a Prometheus figure. And I think, okay, we're going to get into the next section because I know we're going to run out of time. But
Susanna, wow, powerful.
I should write all this down and take a look at your messages while I'm working in the studio. If it would be helpful.
I think you will be able to see the chats.
Yeah, I'll post the chat.
Wow, I'm sounding insecure, but I'm enjoying this. So here, the next painting, a late Renaissance painting by Titian. Another one, I guess all of these things that I have very much about death, but being about death is also about a new life and a resurrection. So all of these stories deal with that. So I remember discovering this one. Again, this painting by Titian is called The Flaying of Marsyas. And it's another one of those gory, wonderful old Greek tales. So Marsyas was a satyr god, half human, lower half. Through the ages, the animal changed, but it's basically he was a satyr. So it's ears of pointy ears of a goat, and the lower area is the legs of a goat. So this.
Okay. Oops, Susie Gesundheit says ekphrastic, I think I pronounced it correctly, painting poetry.
Painting poetry?
Painting poetry.
What I mean to say is it's poetry written to painting, maybe. Maybe it's not the other way around.
Okay.
I
I
understand.
looked up a definition.
If you can do that, you know, that's wonderful. I think that's what you try to do. Well, very quick. Titian, a late Renaissance painter that most everybody knows, major art historical figure. Marsyas, this satyr on Earth, the goddess Athena invented a flute, but when she played the flute, her face looked funny. And her friends laughed. So, okay, that's enough of that. She takes the flute and throws it over her shoulder. It lands down on Earth. This satyr, Marsyas, picks it up and starts playing it. And he gets so good at it, he becomes a rock star. People come from everywhere to listen to him play the flute. But Apollo is the god of art and music. And this uppity character couldn't stand, so he had to do something about it. So there was a contest. Marsyas's idea to challenge Apollo to a flute playing duel. So of course, Apollo wins the challenge, and the winner got to decide the fate of the loser, which of course, here we go, another horrible thing, he gets flayed alive. But the other thing is that he lives forever too, because his blood flowed into a stream which became a river, and I believe it's in northern Iran, the Marsyas River still exists, and it's still called the Marsyas River. Didn't do Marsyas any good at the time, but you do live forever in those Grecian stories. Anyway, this didn't inspire this next group of paintings, and yes, but it encouraged it. I liked the connection. So in New York, I had a studio on top of meat packers, and I saw lots of meat going in and out of buildings. And the building that I was in, I was on the second floor, and I would watch sides of beef come into the building, and then they would come out another exit of the building in little patties. So this may sound silly, but well, you've heard me enough. You'll understand that what I liked about this story. So here's all these steers doing wonderful things for mankind, feeding mankind, and they get to live on in us if you eat meat. So that was kind of a classic Greek story, in the story of Marsyas. You do a good deed for man and you're punished horribly, but you live on. That's your reward. So I did a whole series based on that, and they're all from sides of beef that I photographed in these meat packing places. By the way, that studio right now is a half a block from, it was all meat packers, is now a half a block from the new Whitney. So those 80s communities have certainly changed. But I remember it fondly when There were the meat packers down there. It was a great gritty place to be.
And Susie remembers going to the meat exhibit in LA.
Yes, this also brings us up to much more recent times. Okay, let's see the next one. And
Okay. Jim, I love your stories. So I hate to be bad guy and say we are kind of coming to,
you're supposed to do that. So I'm going to
but
go.
I love the stories.
Well, it's a chance I tell them to myself. So this is kind of fun. So we're just going to go through this, and then we'll get to the next section, and it'll go very quickly. It's loaded with collage, lots of different collage. It says oil, charcoal, and pastel on paper. And again, these are all about 80 inches high, and they get torn off. So we'll just go to the next one. You get the process. Some of them get even more abstracted. And here's you see a lot of them here. This is an installation shot from an exhibition at Kellogg Museum at Cal Poly Pomona. They're all hanging on a hook. By the way,
When you have a series like this of all these paintings, how long does it take you to create like this, however many there are, 7 or 8?
well, oh no, let's
Are you
including
doing them all at once?
smaller ones, maybe more like 70. There were a lot of smaller ones, but the big ones, I think maybe they're like 20, 25 this size. They went over the course of 2 years pretty quickly. It's very quick and spontaneous, this process. I'm doing
Do you-
small work right now that takes weeks to do. It's a real pain, but this was much more a spontaneous thing.
Do you do one at a time, or do you work on more than one at one time?
I try to set up maybe 2 or 3, and then I've got to zoom in on one until I get it.
I see.
But it's just the collage element and setting up the surfaces, which and in these paintings and the next group that I'm going to show again very quickly, I was using joint compound too. Joint compound is something that you fill holes and walls with. It's easy to sand through. So if I paint over it and then sand through it, it really kind of distresses the figures. Again, that excavation thing, and then paint back over it. So I would apply that to several images and then start working and finish up one at a time after that.
Mhm.
If we go to the next, okay. So this is a much more recent series of roses. And again, dealing with death and resurrection. A rose is in bloom, a rose in bloom and just about to fall out of bloom. So it represents not only a lot of religious imageries. I mean, the rose represented many Christian religious characters, but it's also a memento mori image. And the term memento mori, I mean, literally, it means remember you're going to die. So it's a remembrance of death. And there's a whole genre of memento mori images in the, I think it was like in the 1800s. So these paintings, there is the plaster, joint compound, and a lot of collage material before I started to paint on them, because I wanted that to force me to cover it up, paint much more thickly, because I wanted these petals to really relate much more to flesh than a fragile flower petal. And the next image, another painting that didn't start, but it just kind of encouraged this. This is a Baroque artist, Michelangelo Merisi de Caravaggio. And it's a painting that I like. It's called Doubting Thomas. So here's Christ shoving Thomas's finger into his wound, because Thomas didn't believe that Christ was resurrected and showed up in their house. And just the way that Thomas pokes his finger in and lifts Christ's flesh like a petal. That's what encouraged the whole series to get it even more meatier. Yeah, more fleshy. And of course, if we look at the next image, between each one of these petals, it's like a wound. And the wound was an important aspect of my work, as you can kind of tell. And so there's, well, it looks like a healthy flower. Boy, this one looks fleshy. There's tears and all of that. And there's bodily fluid seeping out. I don't know if people have called it tears or dewdrops, but I didn't want it too melodramatic. Didn't want it to be blood. So it's these fluids seeping out, which you can see towards the bottom. Plus it was a chance to paint something shiny and glistening, which was fun. So there's lots of paint and stuff on this. There's even glitter that I put down that I painted over to force me to thicken the paint. And I think maybe there's one or two more images, and then of course, it definitely relates to, it's a studio shot, body parts as well, but you can fill in the rest of that. So this is kind of like how collage influences an important element, my brand of collage, even if it's not so noticeable, still an important part of the growth of all of these areas of my art.
Or mixed media.
Well,
Mixed,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, exactly. But I know there's some people here that are true collage artists. Of course, as I said, I know Lamont's work from way back, and he's one of them. He really deals with collage in a way that it's truly collage, and I think that most of you probably do that. All right, I think that's it.
Sensational.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Whoops, one more.
Somebody said, hey, what are you doing now? This is a little study for a series. I know. What the heck is that?
Is that charcoal or graphic or
It's
graphite?
it's gouache.
Gouache?
Like that tempera paint, charcoal. It's mainly ink gouache. Rutile is a granulated mineral that I mix with the paint, so it's very crusty. It doesn't really show up. But this is a small study that's part of a larger series. So they're much more.
So what is your impulse for this new series?
It kind of started with skulls on a table, which started to look more like an offering on an altar.
Mm.
And skulls, as I use them because they carry a lot of weight and a lot of history and a lot of stories, but kind of deifying a damaged pair. That being an offer, kind of, it becomes a figure, it relates to the human figure when it's up there and it's got this celestial light coming down. So it's very theatrical, and that's the drama I wanted in these. So they're kind of growing into something even more operatic. But they take a long time, and that's longer than the biggest paintings that you saw. So anyway, I thought, just in case somebody asks, I'll throw this in. That should be these things.
Nice.
Done.
Okay, we have a lot of bravos, terrific, and all kinds of wonderful accolades in the chat.
Thank you for deleting the other ones.
Yeah, and Quaylen thanks you for, and she loves the expressionistic abstracted meat. And Patrice has two questions. Patrice, why don't you chime in and ask those?
Thank you very much. First off, Bravo doesn't do it justice. I really appreciate not only the work, but your explanation and the words you use, the excavation, the uncovering are fascinating because it makes me look at the work differently. So my question is, when your work is exhibited, do you prefer to accompany them with this sort of historical explanation? Or do you prefer that the viewers look at it and develop their own interpretation?
Well, yes, that's it. I mean, I wouldn't do that. I know sometimes there's had a couple of survey shows in a museum and there's plaques they put on the wall kind of explaining something. If I'm doing an exhibition of the work, I don't do that. Even though it can be helpful, but it says too much. And as you can tell, I say too much too, so it'll probably go on too long.
No, you don't.
No, it's brilliant. And it's very,
But Patrice, no, I've never done that. I can't see myself doing it. So that's something that a curator might do, and they would of course say it better. And in the context of like a survey show, it makes sense.
very good. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay,
you for all of
there-
it.
Other fascinating things, if anybody wants to pipe up and talk directly, it's much more powerful than my just reading off the chat.
I thought this was absolutely wonderful. I love to see the progression of how you have changed over the years and got different focus. And I wish I could see them in person so I could see the buildup of them, which photography doesn't really show. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And
And
Barbara,
let me pipe in, Jim. I just called Jim. There's a few people, that are labeled, like genius and this and that. I go beyond that. I call Jim and just a few more artists that I know, maestro.
Oh,
And that's for me, that's the highest you can be, like they call it Maestro Leonardo or Maestro Michelangelo. So maestro is a word that I don't throw around that often. And like I say, there's only about 6 or 7 artists that have that title as far as I'm concerned. And I know back in 93, I had, I was pretty heavy in collecting, and I had collected probably at least 5 or 6 of his works dealing with the crucifixion and a couple self-portraits. But then I lost them all in the 93 fire. But I do have more of his work. I'm not gonna let a fire diminish how I feel about a particular artist's work. I still have some of his work. And I just want to say, Jim, the presentation was great. And I'm glad that I can't remember who on the committee got you to come and talk, but I salute her also. And take care. Love your work, Jim, always.
Lamont, maestro of the collage. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to say, but I really appreciate it. Coming from you, very much appreciate it. Thanks, my friend.
Other people have something more to say besides wonderful, wonderful, wonderful?
yeah, wonderful, wonderful. I was gonna to say to Lamont, I hope that you'll enter the show and let's see if you get in.
No. When I saw Jim is going to be the judge, I said, "There's another show I can't get in."
Yeah. Don't get me in trouble. Don't. But Lamont, thank you. And listen, thanks everybody. Barbara, thank you for taking us through and setting up all of the images. Much appreciated.
It was quite wonderful, really, Jim. Everyone enjoyed it so much, and your work is astounding.
It is.
And Barbara is wonderful putting things together. I mean, without her, there would be no show. And
That's right.
thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Jim, for.
Okay, and Jim, I've got a couple more accolades here from SP Harper, Fabulous and Rich Deep Textures. Lucy Julia, HA, whatever. Thank you for these wonderful returnings. Polytropon, Lucy Julia Hale. Aha. And those, I think then we've covered all the chats. That's all, wonderful things, but you will be able to print out all the comments. For inspiration.
Thanks to everybody. And it was fun. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good. Well, we enjoyed it. That's for
Great
sure.
for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
My pleasure.
All right. With all of that, now I wonder, it's a time that we can ask any of our members if they have any announcements or want to tell us about something they're working on,
Or introduce themselves, the new members.
themselves as a new member or whatever. This is an open time to speak up. So Barbara, what's the best way to do that?
I think the chat's been working
Either
really
do a
well.
chat or have them raise their hands because we're seeing everybody's pictures now.
If we
Maybe.
can see everybody now, then you can just raise your hand and yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
No, I just want to thank Susan again for bringing Jim in.
Okay.
Sylvia.
No.
No,
What?
I think it's Sylvia who brought
Yeah.
in.
Oh,
Well,
Sylvia, well, thank you, Sylvia.
Okay. And from Ilana's iPad, best presentation, tracing of evolution of work, so well articulated. Thank you so much. And I think I've covered all the chats now. If people want to chime in. Now's the time. Oh, there's a hand. Karen Schiffman has her hand up.
Nope.
Nope, changed your mind. Okay.
we have so many new members. You don't want to say hello or anything? Let's see. Patrice, Barbara Ide. We've got a, I don't see everyone up here, but
I think
just to say hi, introduce yourself.
I think Patrice may want to. She's got her hand up.
I'll say something. I am really more than excited as an artist. It's, you know, you tend to work alone and people have opinions, but they're not always constructive. And so it's really nice to find a community like this where the input is constructive and inspiring. It's going to take me a while to remember everybody's names because we're not meeting in person. So with faces and just words across the screen take a while. But I'm really excited, and also to understand logistically. You know, as a collage artist, I think I read in the newsletter somebody said we're collectors, not hoarders.
We're what?
We're collectors, not hoarders.
Yeah.
And as a collector, you know, that's something I'm interested in also learning is sort of just systems. If there are tricks on how you all sort of catalog or keep track, because my work tends to be mostly whatever I can see right in front of me. But if I know I have something, I can never find it. So I'm also very interested in systems in addition to the sharing of work. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to more meetings and participating and helping with the board and the members themselves also.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's a really good point. Documentation, you know.
thank you, Patrice. That's a good question. And if anybody has great ideas, they could submit these ideas to Kuei Lin and publish in our newsletter.
Yeah.
So we can share that with all our members. But
I'd
nice
love to do that.
and Patrice, welcome. It's lovely having you with us.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Right now, I'm at a toy show where you go out, there's like bins of plastic figures and objects, and sometimes they're unsorted, and that's part of the challenge. And sometimes it's just wonderful not to have a system. You just kind of grab the things that you find fascinating. But it's a different way of being than in just regular life.
But I have the same problem as Patrice. I have all these great stuff and they're, cupboard there, a drawer here, a bag there. And where is it?
Yeah, was it sold or is it still in the show? Who has
Yeah,
it?
you got me thinking.
Well, with completed work, I have sort of a system that's never up to date, but I do have a system for completed work. But we're talking about paraphernalia and all our collected hoards.
Oh, God.
Our collection.
We've been here 2 days and already we have a hoard. 2 days.
Exactly.
So,
Jean, it's really nice to see you here. I know you've been having
I
some,
know.
I love seeing your face, and I'm glad you joined us today.
Thank you.
Jean
for
Hess.
coming.
You're looking great.
Yeah, you
Love your
look good.
pink.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody else have wonderful things to say or want to chime in? Anybody
There's a
waving?
Barbara
Barb?
Ida.
Yeah, and I go by Barb. That can help eliminate confusion from all the Barbaras. I feel like I've joined a club. So
Okay, Barb.
my background is actually like 20 years ago, starting in quilting and then gravitated to art quilts and now digital collage, transferring that to fabric and adding surface design to that. So I have to say this presentation today was incredible. I'm in a lot of Zoom groups and it's not often that you get that quality of, you know,
Thank
artists
you.
coming to visit live and sharing everything. Quite a journey, and I did truly enjoy that. So is anyone else into digital photography and heat press? You know, like, okay.
Yeah. Quite a few people.
Yeah,
okay.
3 or 4 on the board, plus many of our members do digital collage.
Okay, that's good to know.
For
And yes,
example,
I have drawers and counters and all kinds of stuff because I'm kind of a dilettante, you know, I'll try anything.
right.
So, but I seem to be settling in digital photography. So
Well, they can speak better about it, but what the digital piece that they do have print it to show live as well. It's not just for, you know, for online.
right.
Yeah, Carol has a digital print right behind her.
So yeah, everything and Jim was talking about all of his layers of things, and it was some sort of collage he felt because it was all this stuff, but that's definitely mixed media, and it fits in our description of what is allowed for collage. Collage, mixed media, assemblage, and digital. So you know, any conglomeration of putting things together counts.
I also have put a digital print behind me, which is, I've never shown this, but I had it printed on acrylic to see what it would look like.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Well,
But it'll probably never go anywhere.
Spectacular on acrylic, because I could see it lends itself to that well.
Yeah. Very bright.
On acrylic, what? What do you mean?
It's printed on like plastic.
Plastic.
It's about a quarter of an inch thick.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is the plastic opaque?
It's sort of, no,
Is it
No,
it's translucent. I guess it's whatever
I
you
think they
can
print
see through it.
actually, just like when they print on metal, I think they print on
it's the
acrylic.
It's the same
just
thing.
printed on that surface.
well,
I've been trying to come up with a ground that would. I did a whole floral digital collage series, and I've tried to put it on canvas. It looked horrible. Really didn't do anything. I've never used metal. I always felt it was trendy, but I'm thinking about it. And, you know, they're other than 2 or 3 pieces, they're all JPEGs, you know, they've never gone anywhere. So
my question about the acrylic is that piece of acrylic clear? Is it see-through? Or
you
is
can
it
see through it, but they always have a backing on it, you know, so you can't see through it, but it illuminates.
Yeah, it lets light through.
Yeah.
it has
Translucent, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a glossy look. I've done one piece
I get
on
it.
acrylic, and it enhances, it's glossy, but it's not the same as high gloss photo paper.
Right.
It's different. There's more of a lusciousness to it.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
But
that.
it's not cheap. If you do quality, this was an inexpensive one. just trying to see what it looked like. So anyway, if anybody has other ideas.
What service did you use to have it printed?
What do you mean?
Where did you send it? I mean, or did you print it yourself?
No, 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 no. Oh my gosh,
Okay.
no, I can't print acrylic. No, I actually, it was on Facebook and it was a real cheapo go-to. The mounting and back was not great. I had another one from Costco, which is local here. I don't know if you have Costco's
do.
out of state. And it had quite a sophisticated metal mounting on it. I don't like it as much in a way. So anyway, I've spent like $300 trying to figure out what it.
Try Fine Art America. They do a pretty good job. It's
Okay.
like Fine Art America or pixels.com. They're the same thing. You have to, sort of open an account, and then you can also use it as a website. And
Okay, I know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think my one piece, I don't remember if I did it with Fine Art America. I probably did, but their quality of both their canvas work and their, everything that I've used them for, and metal, very good. The best
Okay.
that I've seen, other than Bay Photo up north, which is really even more expensive than
Well, I've
Fine Art
always
America.
admired your work.
So
Little
so I
award-winning.
find them to be a really good source
Thank you.
for printing.
Thank you.
Are we still recording or?
Yeah, you want me to stop?
I don't know.
Do we
No,
have
it's
anything juicy to talk about? I'll
It's
stop.
useful though.
Yeah, this is useful information. I think.
Yeah, very.
There's a lot of things other people might want to know about, but things
Sure.
that are revealed. Anybody else? Any more interesting or questions that we want to share? Well, then we
Great
can
meeting.
we can stop recording, and then if people want to stay a little longer and chit chat, you're welcome to do.
Okay.
Lauren, keep giving us updates.
Right.
We're all thinking of you and we all love you so much.
Yeah, it's great.
And we miss you.
Oh, yeah.
I miss all of you so much. It's so fun to see you.
Even though we never saw you except once or
One time.
One time.
But
Well,
Oh.
I have not put them all up yet, but I do have all of the collages.
Oh.
So you're in London too.
Oh, good.
Oh.
I know what I would like to do if you would be interested. I have two pieces, one from Jim Morphesis and another one he talked about the freeway paintings. I have if I can show them, would you like to see them?
Yeah.
Okay, you go chat, I'll go get them.
Let me let her share screen here. She wants to.
I think we can pin, can't we, individually?
Then share screen.
Yeah, she can share screen, but I
Okay.
think she's just planning to hold them up, but I'll.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she has.
So
them
everybody, and if she holds them up, we can pin her, right? And that way.
Yeah.
it's larger.
May I say something
What do I
quickly?
do? Share screen or something?
Yeah, if you have them digitally, share screen.
No, it's like a real thing. So I've got to hold it up. I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
let me,
maybe if you
Put it on
delete
screen.
your
Let me-
background and hold
Okay.
it up.
And then put it in front of
Now
your
you can
face.
hold it up.
Under view in the top
may-
right corner, under view in
Okay.
the top right corner,
Yeah.
there's an option, and if you put speaker, Suzanne's image will come up
Right.
big.
Okay.
Instead of
so-
gallery versus
Yeah.
speaker, highlight.
You're on, Suzanne.
Right now Barbara's on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you're talking. Okay,
Maybe we're not going to be able to see it.
put it in front of your face, Susan. Try that. Suzanne, sorry, try that.
Also,
No.
it will show better if you have no background, if you have no virtual background.
I blurred it.
Don't,
No,
no,
just
that
not
takes
here.
away from anything you show.
How do you do the no background?
No
None.
background, go to the
None.
turret next to stop
Okay, wait a
video.
minute.
Choose virtual
Okay,
background.
none.
None.
Okay,
Error.
okay,
Oh,
try it
well.
now.
But
Yeah.
you're not sharing your screen yet. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not seeing her as speaker. I'm not seeing her as speaker. I'm seeing you, Barbara.
Well, then go to your view and look at
This
speaker.
may not work, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh,
I
it
have
works a
Too
little.
much
Yeah,
glare.
the only problem now is
Hold
glare.
it
Oh, we can
up
see a
and
little.
tilt it- Hold it up and tilt it forward slightly. From the top, tilt the top forward.
There.
I
That's
see it,
better.
yeah.
Okay, and then we need to, everybody needs to stop talking because I'm seeing the speakers.
See it at all?
Suzanne, say
Can you all
something.
pin- Can you all pin her if you go
Yeah.
to?
Let
Suzanne?
me